When smashing into television, Hulk had to undergo some changes from the source material. With CGI in its infancy, the Hulk was brought to life using a bodybuilder and makeup. The man who ultimately got the role was Lou Ferrigno. Ferrigno was painted green and given a fright wig with white contacts, fake teeth, and an enlarged forehead piece with a big nose.
There was no green makeup available, and we finally found some in Germany, and it was grease paint, and it was a nightmare because Louis first had to get the prosthetic makeup put on, and then he would have to get the green makeup on top of that, and then he had to get the body makeup, which took 2 people, half an hour, 45 minutes to put on every day, and that long to take off. And he had to be cleaned up between each take, and it came off in his dressing room. His whole inside of his motorhome was completely covered in plastic because we had to be able to hose it down every night and start over the next day.
His debut featured an extreme brow with thick eyebrows protruding out and unkempt frizzy hair. Now, I like Hulk with a large brow, but I think this was a little too extreme. Not that it couldn't have worked, but the limitations just stopped that look from being fully realized. The crew recognized this and toned down the brow, along with his hair when the show got picked up for a series. It wouldn't be until season 3 that the makeup started to appear more natural. Season 4 took a hard turn when it came to hair, as Hulk was now sporting a bleached, almost swamp-looking hairdo. This lasted till the series ended with season 5. But don't fret, Hulk returned in 1989 with the aptly named
The Incredible Hulk returns.
Ferrigno, looking the most jacked he's ever looked, reprises his role as the Green Meanie, who now sports a mullet. In the trial of the Incredible Hulk, he continues with the mullet. However, it looks like the hair changes in certain scenes. In the final film in the series, The Death of the Incredible Hulk, he continues with his mullet, as he unfortunately meets his end. But, believe it or not, this will not be the last we'd see of TV Hulk, as he made 2 more appearances afterward in commercials. In 2001, Ferrigno reprised the role in a fun ad from AGF. His appearance resembles how he looked in the earlier seasons, only with updated prosthetics. Ferrigno's actual last appearance is in a Telecom and Telemobile commercial from 2004. It looks like Lou has just been painted green with the wig on. That's it, no extra large forehead or big nose. After years of development hell, Universal finally got around to releasing a Hulk movie in 2003, and for the first time, he's been brought to life with CGI. If you ask me, I'd say this looks good for the time, and there are numerous shots where the visual effects still hold up today.
It's incredibly difficult to make anything that is even close to being human out of an animated character, whether it's computer graphics or whatever, because as we look at each other, we know that 300 little recognizable body motions that mean something. So we've had to learn all those and apply them to the Hulk correctly so that you think the Hulk has got this kind of childlike personality.
We were constantly making new versions of the Hulk. It's a very, very painful, long process about putting all the little detail. We have a whole team that just simply does the paint. Every little pore and every little detail, that's their job. Another team that's just sculpting the muscles. We bring in bodybuilders. We do extensive research on how the muscles bend.
A common criticism of this look is that he's too babyface compared to most renditions. I do prefer a more monstrous Hulk, and while Eric Bana does have a bit of a babyface himself, I feel like they could have done more to transform his appearance when Hulkified. Another criticism is how vibrant the green is. I like the bright green, but at the time, I feel audiences would have favored a less saturated Hulk, as it would have appeared a bit more realistic. One thing I think that a lot of people can agree on, however, is the fact that Hulk actually wears purple shorts in this movie. So far, it's been the only time Hulk has unapologetically worn them in live action. For Hulk's reboot into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, he was given a complete overhaul as a course correction to address all the complaints about the last design.
We have a Hulk who is not going to be 3 different sizes in this movie. I think everyone will be very happy about that.
You didn't like babyface Hulk? Now he has a mature, gaunt look with cuts, scars, and long, scruffy hair. Not a fan of the bright green? Okay, here's a muted, olive green looking color. Don't like how chubby he appeared? Boom, this Hulk is shredded with 0 grams of fat.
Well, I was basically the bridge between Louis' idea, his brain, and the visual effects house to create what they needed to create in the film. From the comic books, you look at him, you know, from the spiked hair, the really short hair, the longer hair. There's so many different ways you can go with it, but they all feel like the Hulk when you look at it in the comic. There was a design I did that basically had like kind of a military cut. shaved on the side and kind of spiked, and it had an interesting look to it. And that was actually, for a while, that was the direction we were going, until Louis went back to, I want the long hair.
To many people, this is their definitive Hulk. But this design didn't stick around for long, as Mark Ruffalo replaced Edward Norton for the Avengers and onward.
This idea of bringing like this darker, a different kind of more humanistic moving Hulk was really exciting and compelling.
Filmmakers also used cutting-edge technology that gave Ruffalo the chance to leave his imprint on the character.
Before, they've always been a CGI creature that very much was a CGI creature. But now with the motion capture technology that we have, we're building every expression and movement that the Hulk does off of Mark.
It's a real creature, it's very human. There's a sense of humor there. There's an ability to communicate. And he's dangerous, incredibly dangerous. He's a wild animal.
With the recast comes a new design. This time, Hulk is closely modeled after Ruffalo and is brought back with a more realistic body type that isn't as intense, with a hunched posture and even body hair. There aren't many complaints I see for this design. Since Ruffalo came aboard, this look has been unanimously beloved as a great Hulk design. Hulk's return in Avengers Age of Ultron updated his design with more exaggerated features and an overall angrier look.
Well, I think we paved the ground with Avengers 1. It was very well received in terms of his performance and his believability. We took that as a challenge of we could make it better. We revamped the entire model, including the facial shapes, and really kind of matching the intent that we saw from Mark Ruffalo when he was on set.
His pants are turned into an Avengers uniform designed to accommodate his transformations. They do have some purple tones, but it's not really noticeable. Unfortunately, one major issue has been present since his rendition, and I don't know why this change was made. He does not have green eyes. Why? In Thor Ragnarok, we get another tweaked Hulk design with softer features, as he doesn't have that crazed look in his eyes. No exaggerated brow, short hair, and he fully stands upright. To me, this is a downgrade from the previous Hulk, although I suppose with how long he spent as Hulk, he was bound to go through some physical changes. We also get Gladiator Hulk. While not my favorite adaptation of the armor, it's still awesome to see. Hulk's design remains the same in Infinity War, where he only has a few seconds to shine before going MIA. Finally, we've reached the present iteration of Hulk, aka Smart Hulk. It's crazy to think this rendition has stuck around for over 7-8 years at this point, which means it's equally been that long since we last saw Savage Hulk, if you don't count his brief appearances in Endgame and Deadpool and Wolverine. As Smart Hulk is Banner taking a hold of Hulk's body, his design was altered to resemble that. He looks the most Ruffalo MCU Hulk has ever looked, and is less beefy, shorter too. There's never been such a strong distaste toward an alteration of a character than this, at least when it comes to the MCU, I think. I don't mind Smart Hulk, I just don't like the way his progression was handled, but I'm sure you've heard that complaint many times, so I don't need to go into all that. Beyond the blockbusters and primetime television, Hulk has had a couple of live-action appearances in commercials that deviate from the norm by going with practical suits. The first being in the Marvel Got Milk commercial from 2001, where Hulk and the rest of the cast are spot on with their classic designs, thanks to the work from Asylum SFX. A practical Hulk was brought back in an Avengers Target commercial, with the titular heroes being scaled down to kid size. I'm not going to add these to the ranking because they're just brief appearances, and I want to focus on the more mainstream, well-known looks for Hulk on screen, but I just had to get these in there. I think we all knew this would be in last place. Smart Hulk's design from the MCU is not the most desired look for the character. Smart versions of Hulk have been around since his early appearances. The most popular version of the idea comes in the form of Merged Hulk, aka Professor Hulk. So this is not a nag at the idea or how Marvel ruined the character with this portrayal. It's happened before, it's not a new thing. But unsurprisingly, I just like the brutish Hulk look, whether it's on screen or in a comic. That's it really. Although, I have to say, I think MCU Smart Hulk looks better in the merchandise artwork, likely because he appears more muscular than he does on screen. I hate to do it, but by default, TV Hulk ends up toward the bottom. This doesn't mean it's a terrible look for the character, there are just other versions I like even more, and the limitations of time just hold it back too. This incarnation has had various design tweaks, but the overall look remains, which is why I opted not to create a separate category for every makeup change. In the original series, I think his Season 3 appearance is great. In the TV movies, his appearance in The Death of the Incredible Hulk is another awesome look. And outside of that, his appearance in the AGF commercial is not only another favorite of mine, but also the best this version has ever looked. His hair doesn't look out of place, with the right amount messiness that isn't as extreme as his appearance in the pilot. It isn't bleached like in the later seasons, and isn't styled into a mullet. The contacts look much better, and the prosthetics sit well between looking Hulkish without grossly exaggerating it. Hulk's design in Thor Ragnarok is a step down from his previous appearances in the MCU. With Hulk taking control of the wheel, he changed a bit. Physically, he no longer slouches, and his facial features are less monstrous, of course. I like him standing up straight, but I do miss his protruding brow and overall more hulkiness. I don't mind his short hair, even if I think it could have been a bit longer. On the bright side, the Gladiator outfit is pretty cool, even if I prefer the more worn out and ragged look of the source material. Although it makes sense for the champion of Sakaar to not look so beat up. As his design is the same in Infinity War, this also counts as a ranking of this look in that movie. This was difficult. There are many things I like about Hulk's design in the 2008 movie. He's a real intimidating looking Hulk, with an aggressive demeanor overall. Unfortunately, quite a few things hold it back. The design philosophy for this Hulk was to make him into more of a superhuman than a monster. He has a lean build over Hulk's usual powerlifter bulky design. I prefer the bigger build a bit more, but I do like how vascular he looks. I'm not a fan of the pale, sick green color of his skin. I fear that such an overcorrection from the 2003 movie led to Hulk's skin color being affected the most. It's continued with Hulk's other appearances, as well as his related characters. To be fair though, Hulk's desaturation isn't really an issue exclusive to him. That's just a general MCU problem with the way those movies look. Hulk with long hair has always been a great look, but the way it's styled on this design is off to me. I think I'd like it if his hair were a tad shorter and poofier. In a lot of scenes, his hair is too straight, which makes the emo comparisons very apparent. For the first CGI Hulk, his design in 2003 is a good start. I've always loved the saturated green, and that, coupled with him actually wearing purple, is what gives this design a leg up for me, compared to the previous entry. I don't mind his quote-unquote baby face as much as others, but there is something about the way his face looks that is, I don't know, kind of off. Maybe it's because his nose looks too normal, maybe his brow isn't as large as others, or maybe he just often looks too relaxed compared to other Hulks. I cannot pinpoint what it is about his face looks weird, because all things considered, Hulk looks like Hulk. I guess he just isn't as grotesque as the other designs we're about to get into. This concept art for the film is more in line with what I prefer, while still keeping the core design. I remember how excited I was to see Hulk's return for the Avengers, and that brief glimpse we got during the teaser trailer was insane. His design is pretty good. He's got way more of an animalistic look with the hunched posture, big brow, and excessive body hair. I like it a lot. Not much to nag on about, aside from him wearing his dull colored pants and looking a little too much like Ruffalo. I actually think the merchandise art looks better, making him appear more menacing and more defined. My number one favorite Hulk design on film is his appearance in Avengers Age of Ultron. I had just mentioned in the last entry that Hulk's merchandise art for the Avengers looked better than it did on screen. Well, his look in this movie is basically that. His design from the previous film was dialed up, and it looks great. The size of his brow was increased, and now furrows even more, making him look angrier. His lower jaw was also increased, emulating a bit of a primitive look, with his mouth being further from his nose. You can see more of his veins illuminating through the skin without them excessively bulging out. And his hair is longer, with the right amount of poofiness and texture I'd like to have seen in the 2008 design. I like his pants being an Avengers getup. The only downside is that it's difficult to tell that they're supposed to be purple in the actual movie. My major gripe with this design has always been the eyes. Why are they brown? Why? I want to know who decided to take away his green eyes. It's not like it's even a niche aspect of Hulk's look. What makes this change more baffling is that Banner has green eyes in one of the trailers and a deleted scene. I'd say this was an oversight, but Hulk's following appearances continue with the change. It doesn't make sense to me. Before ending the segment, I want to briefly talk about Hulk's design in the 2012 scene from Avengers Endgame. I think Hulk's model here is the same as in Ragnarok and Infinity War, but just tweaked a bit to better resemble how he looked in the Avengers. I'm sure of it. When looking at the two side by side, they are different. Notably, the Endgame look has a smaller brow. If I were to rank this, I'd put it below Ragnarok. There we have it. A look back at Hulk's live action designs through the decades and my personal ranking of them. In general, I don't hate any of Hulk's designs on film. He actually has a pretty solid comic-to-screen transition over other heroes, but as with other things, there is always room for improvement. Hulk's next appearance is in Spider-Man Brand New Day, which hasn't been released as of making this video, but we do have an idea of how he'll look, thanks to the merchandise. However, I don't feel I can give a solid opinion on the new design, as Hulk's licensing art for his movies is never totally accurate to how he appears in the final film, but from what I've seen so far, I like it. It appears Hulk is no longer keeping his less primitive look from Ragnarok and Infinity War, looking like he's fully reverted to his savagery. I've been speculating that Hulk being locked away for so long would definitely cause him to be pretty pissed off once he finally came back, and it's sure looking like it. He just looks incredibly aggressive, even in the Funko Pop, in large part thanks to the giant brow returning, which I really hope is actually a prominent part of his design. His age is showing as his hair is proceeding with some gray throughout. It's not the first time MCU Hulk has had gray in his hair. Since Ruffalo came along, Hulk's always been shown graying throughout the movies, and I'm surprised a lot of people have finally taken note of it. That aspect of his design used to irk me a bit, but I've come to accept it. I don't mind the receding hairline. It really evokes how Hulk often appeared in TV series, where you saw more of his enlarged forehead. It also highlights his brow even more. My real complaint here is the pants. Come on now, no purple? Is Marvel contractually obligated to not give Hulk his iconic pants? Anyways, it's a cool design, and if he does look exactly like this in the film, then it's easily a new favorite, but as always, we'll have to wait and see.